Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, and I'm going for a third time here on a live stream right now, so hopefully it works. I'm not completely sure why it didn't work the first couple times, but if you're back on deck with me, I do appreciate it. Why did my ex-girlfriend break up with me? Why? Actually comes up, very common question. I'm going to dissect it a bit more and get into it. Obviously, it's a different answer for different people, but there are people at the end of the breakup, they're like, I just don't get it. Why? I just don't get it. Why? So thank you, Azam. Way to throw you a donation or a tip, I would do it, bro. Thanks for coming back on deck a third time. I think I figured it out. So hopefully third time's a charm here. It's not fun when you repeat, hi, I'm Mac McCarthy. I help people with their breakups. But we'll see. Maybe it's something. I don't know. My internet's been working fine. So connection. So anyhow, if you like the video, throw me a like. If you don't like the video, don't like it. If you want to subscribe. And if you want to buy a live coaching session, talk to me on FaceTime, fully unpack your situation, your breakup, go for it, WRITEMAC.com. Recently, I have been taking on calls on the live streams, different calls from different people, so you can kind of get an idea of my approach. It's obviously a little bit different than if we talked in a private coaching session, because a private coaching session, a lot of people divulge more stuff. They give more details. If you were on a couple days ago, there was a young lady. You could tell that I went back and listened to it, and it was good, but there was a lot of yes answer, like yes, because she didn't want to. I don't think she wanted to share a lot of details, which was fine. Shared her story and whatnot, but if you want to go all in, I would go with the private live coaching. Live stream's nice for the audience, and if you're really vulnerable and really willing to share, like Dave, who was on yesterday, which was one of the best all-time call-ins that I've had, and he was vulnerable, man. He shared a lot about his story, a lot of swearing. I hope I don't get in trouble for that on the YouTube algorithm, but I thought it was good. I don't know if you saw that one yet, Azam. You'd kind of enjoy that. It was pretty funny. In a good way. I mean, he has a tough breakup right now, but the language and the ideas that he was using about it were fun. I went back and actually watched that one too. I don't watch all my live streams, but that was good. We're gonna Aleph right now is editing it, so you could just, instead of watching the whole live stream, you can just pick up where the call came in and kind of hear his story. And he's going to come back and do a live coaching later on. Because like I said, the live coaching on live stream, it's a bit limited, because when we talk one-on-one and we're on the camera and we're talking together, it's different. Oh, he's a tough dude as it is. But what's interesting is that you say that, because you're a pretty tough guy. You're a masculine guy. You know it. That's who you are. And I respect the hell out of it. That being said, there are men out there that do meet their match. That, they're players, they've always been in control of relationships, what have you, and then they meet someone and they go to mush. So there are guys out there like, I don't know, I've never met a woman like this before that's done this to me, and I've become this way. I've met him before. There was a guy years back, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. He was a famous DJ. He was actually like well known, made big money, did well in a major city in the world. Highly confident about what he did, and he actually did multiple live coachings with me. What's up, Nike One? He actually did multiple live coaching sessions with me of 2 hours. And one of the things he did, and a lot of people do this, and like I said, I call it whistleblowing. It's like they go into this thing where she did this to me, she did that to me, she did this to me, he did that, like people go into this thing, and then you get to a point and you're like, all right, so why are you even chasing him? Why are you even entertaining getting back together? And a lot of times for men, it's attraction and intimacy. And that was the case yesterday when I asked him the golden question. I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your attraction and intimacy? He's like, 10. I'm like, what's your connection? Like an 8? Like a solid 8? 9? 10? 8, 9, 10? And then you go, dun, dun, dun. What's your trust? I already know the answer. Oh, trust? 3? It's like, You think about, I know friends are different than partners or girlfriends or whatever, but like, would you hang out with a friend you didn't trust on a 3 out of 10?
No.
You know what I mean? Like trust is a big deal, and trust is, it's more than a big deal. It's how you value people over time. You know what I mean? And that, so what's really nice about doing that is I call it a temperature read. But then it's like when you ask people that, they're like, oh shit, because it's so simplistic that they will actually, they'll have to give it a number rather than, oh, they did this, they did that, and you're like, that's the real problem. You're still attracted to them on a 10, so you don't want to let go of that because you're like, she's a 10, man. She's a fucking 10. Deep down inside, you're like, can't get another one of those really quick. Maybe I can meet another one, but not like her. And here's the thing. I broke it down a few days ago in a live stream. You're never going to get the same person, the same woman, the same look ever again because human beings are unique unless they have an identical twin. That's it. So that's real. The reality is, if you're living in a city or with enough people, and that's not everyone, by the way. Like I said, sometimes people live in a town of 100 people. Sorry, it's going to be really hard to meet someone new. You can meet someone online, but then you're going to have to try. Like that makes a difference where you live. But you're right. When you're absolutely right. Oh, I'll never meet someone like this again. No, you won't. And by the way, wouldn't it be nice, all the negative shit that you didn't like about them, if you could go, yeah, I'm not going to go out with a chick like that again with, hammer toes. Or, I always like, sometimes when she ate onions, she had like bad breath. Like there's always these little things that you lose sight of when you break up that bothered you when you were together. Right? Like where you're like, I remember she used to snore a lot, or these things. You might meet someone new and they don't do those things, and you're like, wow, this is nice. This is really nice. Things that you overlooked because the intimacy and attraction were so high. Because at the end of the day, when you're a teenager all the way up to your early 20s, it is all about attraction most of the time. Someone would say, oh, no, it isn't. We're really well connected. Yeah, that's part of it. That's fine. But the interesting thing about the guy that came on yesterday, and he's a cool dude, man. Smart guy, I thought. I thought he was, he was confident. And he said he knew when he met her, he didn't trust her. And then he gets in a year relationship. You know what I mean? She was dating someone else when she first started dating him. So what goes around comes around. He mentioned something that was really interesting. Because it sounded like he watched Corey Wayne quite a bit. He was like, Corey Wayne always goes, don't listen to what they say, look at what they do. So this is a classic, like, actions speak louder than words. Mm-hmm. But actually, in my experience, I listen to words now. It's part of my job as a coach. And words fucking count. And especially when someone says, I'm this. Or when people make little jokes. Like I've met women before with like, oh, would you help me out with my car payment? Ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, no. Like it's a joke. Uh-huh. Like, a friend at the office or something like that. Or it's a joke. It's half true though. Like somewhere, like someone would never even think that way, right? Or, oh, it would be nice if I just had a rich guy. Ha, 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 ha. Actually, that's what they really want. So, which is fine if you're rich, that's what you're looking for. Good luck. A lot of guys get pissed about that. Oh, she just wants a rich guy. So what? So what? I mean, keep on moving. So today I was going to talk about, I kind of wrote out a little bit of a story or a few examples of what I mean by when you get into this situation where you're kind of like, what? Why did she break up with me? And I'm not going to have all the answers of why someone broke up with you because I need to know your story. You need to write it to writemac.com, and then I can break it down with you and give you a tailored answer. But I'm going to give you an example of today of why you don't understand why they broke up with you. Because their actions are the part you don't get. Because you haven't seen those kinds of actions from a female before, or a male if it's a woman with a guy or whatever. So everything's foreign to you. And that's why if you listened to me a couple days ago, this woman that called in, I'm like, she's like, her boyfriend has a drug problem. right? I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you have any family or friends that had drug problems? No. Okay, so the whole thing about someone having a drug problem, you've never even dealt with it. So you have no idea the manipulation or that the drug or the alcohol comes before everything else kind of a thing. You know what I mean? If anyone's had anyone in their family with that problem, alcoholics, drug addicts are extremely selfish, and nothing will come before the real. I'm talking about real addicts that are extreme addicts, and they will stop at nothing to make excuses, to blame people. And if you get caught in that web, if you've never been a part of that, it's kind of like, oh, he said I was this, he said I was that. Yeah, because he doesn't want to take accountability for being a loser drug addict. My point was, when I was talking to her, and she's thinking like, why did we break up, or this or that? Because I was there for him when he had this drug problem. It's not about the drug problem. It's about the fact that you've never even dealt with people like that before. Now, the other thing, a lot of times when I talk to people, I'll ask them about their past relationships. Well, what was it like? Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people do. Some people don't think it's significant. It always plays a role in your relationship now, what your prior relationships that were serious, because that's where you get your playbook from. That's where you think like, oh, I've already learned about relationships. I've already learned about women because I've had a couple girlfriends before. Again, only one human being on earth like that past girlfriend that you're relating everything else to. It's like if you bought a Honda Civic and you were like, oh, all cars are like Civics, I could repair it. It wouldn't be the same. It's not true. And so this is where people get messed up. So I wrote this. By the time most people are 30, they've got playbooks for most things they come across. So let's think about this. If there's a red light, stop. I know that sounds simple, but that's you learn that when you were young, and you carry it through, right? Some people still don't stop, though, do they? Huh. If I'm down, I go for a walk or a run. That's my own playbook. If I have a bad day or something like that, I'm like, I got to get out. I got to exercise. That's my playbook, because I've come back to that over and over again. Some other people go, oh, when I'm down, I just like to eat. It makes me feel better. That's a playbook. Oh, I can't not eat when I'm down. Yes, you can. You just have developed that's your comfort. For me, if I have a question about business, I go to Google. There's no one in my family that are business people, so I usually have to go to the internet. Playbooks are based on what has worked for you in the past. It doesn't always mean success. It's a situation where you've gotten a result from something and now you know how to get the result again. So recently, I heard Mike Tyson being interviewed, actually by Tony Robbins. And Mike Tyson was saying when he was, and I knew a little bit about this, but I hadn't heard this part of the story. Mike Tyson was saying when he was about 12 years old, you guys know who Mike Tyson is? Yep. Yeah. Mike Tyson was saying when he was like 12 years old that he had pigeons. So pigeons are really popular in like New York and that. They keep them on the rooftops, and they, I think they call it pitching pigeons. But anyhow, the pigeons will go and come back, and you'll keep them. So he said he had pigeons, and someone killed one of his fucking pigeons. So he said like he fought the guy, but it wasn't the way he was. Tyson in the interviews like being really humble about it. He's like, I didn't really know how to fight, I didn't ever really fight before. I just wanted to, I just hit him, and I kind of won. And he's like, and then after that, all the kids would bring people over for me to fight. And he goes, before I was a professional boxer, I probably had like 400 fights, which is probably exaggeration. But here's my point. You're like, how did Mike Tyson become a boxer? Kind of by accident, because someone killed his fucking pigeon. He fought someone with anger, because like one thing that's underrated about fights, it's like I don't want to fight the guy that's way more angry than me. Have you ever seen like some skinny kid or someone like that's lost it, and you're like, damn, that kid like he's amped up. You know what I mean? And so I'm sure that Mike Tyson had anger and whatnot behind everything, and that's why he probably beat this kid's ass, right? So he beat him up, and then everyone in the neighborhood was like, oh, this guy can fight. Let's bring him some more people. And then Mike, being someone that was low on confidence and whatnot, he would just fight everyone. He was pretty good at it. And he said, I just got better because I just kept fighting. So what's my point about that? He developed a playbook. He developed like, well, if I fight people, I get significance. I'm good at it. And people from the neighborhood come and watch me, cheer me. And then it led to, you know, someone taking him to a gym and someone recognizing him. So he kept doing it because he had success, he had significance, he got attention from it. So Mike got respect, notoriety, and he created a significant moment each time he fought. All eyes were on him. He didn't say that. That's just my take on it. So when someone goes, oh, why'd she break up with me? There's a trail. There's a trail of reasons why she broke up with you that she's never told you about or you've never seen if you haven't heard about her past relationship or her relationship with her parents or her caregivers. That's why she broke up with you. There was something that she was influenced by. And the only other time that it's not influenced by past events is a lot of times someone in their early 20s can be influenced by friends, like friends or direct colleagues. The classic case of, you know, someone's having a best friend that's single and whatnot. All right, I'm going to get into this story really quick, but let me check the live stream with Azam and Nike One Reel here. Psychology work on anybody. The more famous you are, the more you are used to be worshipped for nothing. When someone flipped the script, it hits home harder. 3 probably. We got caught up in chasing the idea of who we want that person to be, coach. Yeah, that's a lot of times the case. Why did my ex-girlfriend break up with me? I know firsthand, coach, my father was a heroin addict, so was my long-term ex. So I didn't know your ex was like that. So that makes sense why you were with her so long, because you knew how to deal with it. So when she would do or say things, I was a step ahead of her because I've seen it before my whole life. I got you, bro. I got you. And people think that's weird. They're like, why would you end up with, like, for example, an alcoholic or a heroin addict when your parent was one? Because you know it all. It's weird because you're actually comfortable in it. And when this is what's crazy, people will break up with an addict and they'll be like, I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they said this. And if you've dealt with one before, I'm like, oh no, I get it. My father's a bad alcoholic. He was mean. You know, I can get up there with the best of them on stories that weren't nice when I was a little kid, but I don't compete for that kind of victimhood shit. I look at it now like I learned a lot. My dad did some good things, and he became that way for, you know, because of his own life's work. We're all acting on base past experience unless we choose to change them. I agree, and people aren't aware of that though. Nike One, they don't know that their past experiences are ruling today, right? So that is my point. When you break up, why did my ex break up with me? So I started out this story that I wrote, and I've been doing a lot of extra writing recently on my book. I'm not sure I'm going to use this in the book or not, but I wrote it last night while I was eating dinner alone. And I was thinking to myself, I haven't finished it yet actually, but this is a good example of what I'm talking about when someone goes, why did she break up with me? Right? So I'll get into this story right now. Random name too. Lily was 28 years old. She just broke up with her 5th serious relationship. She pulled the plug on what everyone saw as a good relationship. Lily had 2 kids from 2 different men. Both of those men had verbally abused her. Both men were in and out of jail. You might say that Lily liked bad boys, bad guys. She had a thing for boyfriends that had court dates looming. She had one boyfriend she stayed with at 18 who went to jail for 18 months. She waited for him, taking his collect calls and writing him sweet letters of love. He was her first love. She'd do anything for this guy. Her father was a scary individual. He drank a lot, yelled a lot, and rarely showed Lily any sort of attention. She was scared of her dad. But her first boyfriend, Sal, was a different kind of drunk. He drank, he yelled, but he showed love sometimes. So you see how that's like a little twisted? Her dad was so bad that this guy that she met seemed like, well, he's a lot better than my dad was, because that's her example of a man in her life, someone she cared about or was supposed to care about. Love and affection she had never received before, and she felt protected by Sal. He was tough, he was a drug dealer, and he carried a gun. This intrigued Lily. She was familiar with drama from men, but this guy would sometimes sprinkle in some attention. It was enough for her. So she picks up Sal in jail. He moves in with her while she waits tables at a nice restaurant downtown. She makes good tips, which Sal collects at the end of the night. Lily doesn't mind. She feels like he's her man. He's her protector. She doesn't really know what to do with that money. Soon Lily realizes Sal has no plans to get a job. He starts drug dealing again. She blindly loves him through and through. After all, this is the first man that has ever showed her love. Sal senses how extreme Lily's feelings are. He's 8 years older than her and has had 2 previous girlfriends where he ran the same playbook. Get them young, show them some love and attention, and then once they're all in, take advantage of their unconditional love. When they get an attitude or question you, well, that's time to check them. That's when you put them in their place. It worked for Sal before. Then he goes too far. He hits her or really scares her, and then she leaves. Sal doesn't blink. See, Sal doesn't really value women the way they value him. He doesn't even know what unconditional love is. His mom put him in a foster home at 7 years old. The foster parents fed him and gave him a bed, but they didn't really love him. Actually, the foster parents were more interested in getting checks from the state for taking care of him. He learned that from them. His definition had been twisted into survival. Love was an opportunity not only to get some intimacy, but some financial security. Lily's family and friends grew to hate Sal. They could see he was controlling and overall loser. Lily was still all in. She loved him, really loved him, and again, felt that he could protect her. Sal got caught cheating. Lily confronted him. He didn't accept her accusations with shame. Rather, he shamed her, saying that he had no choice. He called her fat and ugly. This hurt Lily. She immediately started taking diet pills. Sal continued to cheat till finally he left Lily because this new woman, Tanya, was now taking care of him. She had a better job. Lily was crushed and begged for him back. Sal would take advantage over the next 3 months, keeping her on the side, hooking up with her when he wanted and getting money when he needed it. Finally, Lily met some other guy whom was much like Sal. Name was Jazz. He was a musician, surprisingly, and he had done some jail time. He met Lily online. They hooked up, and he moved into her studio within 2 weeks. Lily still had her waitress job. That made just enough to make the bills. Jazz had a job as a dishwasher at a local restaurant. He claimed to be trying to get better jobs, but ex-cons were limited, he told Lily. He actually treated Lily better than Sal, but he was controlling with her and especially her money, which she was familiar with. Jazz didn't sell drugs, but he did them, lots of them. Soon Lily would do them with him, and within a month dating, Lily would be hooked on crystal meth, losing her job. She found ways to get money, borrowing and stealing from friends. Then she finally went to jail for stealing, where after a few months in jail, she realized she didn't want drugs anymore. She went back to school, got some loans, got some help from her grandmother, and within a year, she was a lead chef at a successful restaurant. Lily met a new guy. This time, they had something in common. They met in drug rehab center where weekly meetings were held for addicts. What do you think happens with Lily, Aleph? She's got a new boyfriend. I'm going to stop there. What do you think happens with this? Were you listening to the story?
Not really.
Oh, no. It's too fast for you. Thanks for being honest. Were you listening?
Yeah.
What do you think happened? Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. Aleph, go take a hike. Get the hell out of here. No. What do you think happens to her? She meets a new guy. Now that they're both drug rehab addicts. She's done with this second one. What do you think happens?
I don't know. She'll probably try to get her life together.
That would be the Hollywood movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, she gets her life together.
I mean, that would be like the most reasonable way.
The best thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Would Azam or Nike One, if you were listening, or anyone else out there was listening, or that story or example, what do you think happens with this woman? She goes back to the drug boyfriend? Possibly. Very possibly. She could go back to having, I mean, very possible. My point is there's a lot of different things that could happen here. But here's what she's used to. She either falls back into the same pattern with either one of those guys. 101% she goes back. Possibly. But what's gonna be her experience? She's had men that are she's seeking guys that protect her because her dad scared her and didn't show her any attention or love. So any kind of attention or love she gets from any guy, she's going to be all in quite quickly. Secondly, she's had two guys now that part of them loving her is her giving them money and helping them out because they both can't take care of themselves. By the way, the first guy that she was with is probably going to be the harshest example. So she meets this new guy in drug rehab, and we don't even know who this guy is, if he's a good guy, a bad guy, or if he ends up being like really great. Like he's a chef too, he does this. She still has an opportunity to mess that up because in the back of her head, she's got this playbook on how men act, and if this new guy doesn't act that way, she's going to be puzzled. And this is what happens when I talk to people a lot of times. They'll be like, man, she had a guy that used to abuse her. She had a guy that stole her car for 2 weeks. And he's like, and then I came in. I'm the best boyfriend she ever had. And she told me that when she still broke up with me 2 weeks ago. I don't understand why. A lot of times, if a woman's been through that much stuff and they're low on confidence and low on self-esteem, they think at some point you're going to find them out. They think they're not good enough for you. And then they get really insecure and they find ways to sabotage or break up the relationship because somehow this is something they're not used to. It's weird.
No, it's true.
It's weird though, because you'd think like, oh, why wouldn't you be able to, be with someone really good for you? And counterintuitive. So then people come to me, they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, well, what was her past relationships like?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like for someone, sometimes nice guy never win. That's why. And she get used to it.
Nice. Well, it depends on your definition of a nice guy. But there are guys that are solid, good boyfriend. I've met them. And these guys aren't like, oh, they're too nice or they're feminine. They're nice guys. They're not, they're not just nice guys. They got a lot going for them. They got a good job, and I'm not talking about weenies, weak guys or anything like that. They're good boyfriends. And they're with women that are good women, but they've been damaged by bad relationships for so long and trained in a way that that's a bad word to use, but they've been directed in such a way that they get in a relationship and they're like, what? Wait, he's actually going to pay for dinner tonight? He's actually paying this is weird. You know what I mean? And so when someone comes in, why did she leave? I would have to know her background stories. And a lot of times when those come up and someone has that, there was a guy years back, he was in a 9-year marriage. They had kids. And he's like, his wife would not let his mother, who was the grandmother of the kids, see the kids. She had a thing against that. I said, well, does your wife have a bad relationship with her mother? Oh, God, the worst. How'd you know? Because do you understand what I mean? She assumes that your mother and all mothers are not good around kids. And I go, did she have some bad things happen to her when she was a kid? Yeah. He goes, yeah, I think she was abused. There was a lot of different things from it. It was really sad. And he goes, but it never came up until we had kids. And then my mom would want to come around and give them Christmas presents. She doesn't even want the kids being kissed by her mom or the grandpa. And I was just like, well, then when we got deeper, yeah, it's all issues from her childhood and the way her mom treated her. And it was a combination of I think the wife knew that his mom wasn't like her mom, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But she was a little jealous that he had such a great relationship with his mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was a little jealous. So like when his mom would come around and bring him gifts and be nice with the kids, she would find ways to sabotage it and fuck it up.
Yeah, experience is build up the personality.
And he was like, I don't get it. I don't understand. So when he talked to me and we broke it down together, I'm like, this isn't about your mom. This isn't about you. It's about her past. Yeah. And that's one of those things when I come back to it, when you're going, why? This guy that was dealing with it, he had never dealt with a woman like this before. So it's all new to him too. He's like, I've never had a woman act like this. Why would she be, everyone's always liked my mom. And so it really messes things up. All right, let me check in on the live stream. She doesn't know what a good, healthy relationship looks like. Therefore, it wouldn't know if a good guy fell in her lap. Well, that's the thing. That's why I left the story kind of on a cliffhanger. Because this happens and it happens more with guys with women. Guys are like, man, I don't know what I did wrong. And then sometimes they start overcompensating, like, oh, I did something wrong. Oh, this or that. And it's like, no, she's damaged. I'm not seeing anything you did wrong. This is legit me and my recent ex-coach. I'm not a fixer-upper, and that's what she used to. So I come along. She doesn't have to fix me. That doesn't send off the same spark as a toxic relation. It's true. That's a big one. There's some women out there, and men, but more, I would say women more often in this case, that like have had really drama-fueled relationships. And I don't want to say they're fun, but they create a lot of lust and intimacy. And if someone doesn't get that and it sparks, like people say, oh, I like to fight to make up. There's nothing better than makeup sex or something like that. And those kind of relationships don't last forever because it's very hot and cold, up and down, hot and cold, up and down. And it's like for you to get close, you have to get in a fight first. That's kind of twisted. I mean, you could have moments like that, but if that's your MO, that's like something you guys do regularly, it's not good. Don't be a capped, save a damaged person. Don't be a captain. Good, free good. What's up, Skinner? What's up, Dylan? Dylan's from Tasmania. Do you know Tasmania, Aleph?
Yep.
Has always been the case. Crazy women, hot sex, the roller coaster gets you. And a lot of my clients' cases where you're listening to these crazy stories, that is absolutely true, Sam. Going back to that guy that was a DJ, he went on and on for hours. And I'm here for you. I'm listening. We're going through it. We're unpacking it. And one of his big things was he was in clubs a lot, right? So he was saying that, he's like, she was good looking. She had big tits, I think he said. And so she got a lot of attention. He's like, she's a good looking woman, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the thing about guys when you get women like that. Do you have the confidence to handle that? Because your woman's going to get attention. Like, you bring that woman around, you're like, what is she looking at? What is she doing this? You can't be that way, dude. Everyone's going to be checking that out, right? So he said that one of his coworkers, I guess like another DJ or something like that, or a promoter at one of the clubs, was hitting on her in front of him. And he was like, which you got to know your environments that you bring your girlfriend in, first of all. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't go and introduce your girlfriend to a major nightclub. Sorry. It's not insecure. I mean, I guess if that's your job and stuff, but if you're like, oh, this is my girl, don't not expect the fellow DJ, the doorman, the manager, or the bartender at the club to maybe try to hit on her. It's her job as your girlfriend and the girl that's with you to say no. But you are opening up the playing field to a lot of bait out there. Mm-hmm. So so anyways, he said later on he found out that she had given her number to this guy. This was like down the road. So he was like all pissed off about this. He found out that this chick was actually hooking up with another guy that was someone he knew, and he was playing them both at the same time. Like, she was hooking up with both of them. And so these two guys had found out. They had found out, like, she's been hooking up with me. Wow, she called me that night. She was at my house. So they exchanged notes on getting played by this woman. But my thing was like, aren't you done? It's not like I'm with you that you're hurt. I'm with you that you want to air it all out. I'm here for you. That's what you pay me for. Talk to me about it. Because you got to get it all out. You got to get it all out, all the details, no judgment. just reflection. But then at the end of it, it's like, dude, it's pretty crystal clear she was hooking up with someone else while you were literally the same week. You're done. And then it finally came about, I think, maybe our 4th hour of live coaching. He's like, man, he's like, I got to be honest with you. I was like, that's what you pay me for, to be honest with me. It's like, this was the best intimacy of my life. The things we did, mate. The things we did, oh my God, with me and this woman. He went on and on. Oh my goodness. And so I'm like, that's what you're chasing. I've never had that before. I mean, I get women, I get that. That's what you're chasing then. Are you capable of meeting someone else like that? Fuck yeah. Tomorrow? No. But that's a lot of times for people. It's not them checking, it's how she handles it. She encourages it, or she values you not to risk upsetting you. It's how she handles it, or she encourages. Good point, Azam. But what I'm going to say is, if you can't handle her getting that attention, you shouldn't be walking your good-looking woman through a nightclub regularly. Me personally, I would rather be with someone that doesn't really like to be going to nightclubs regularly. Ozzy411, Miami's finest. How are you, buddy? He is dumb, but she wasn't like the rest. He used to be worshipped. Mac, thanks for the email. Writing you later. Right on, Sabina. I do have a comment that came in right before this live stream I'm going to get to in a moment. Donations are welcome. Yesterday we had a few people make some donations. I really appreciate it. What's up, Andy? Hi, Coach. I sent you an email a while ago, just an update. What happened? I saw the email, and that's your clarity, Andy. Sometimes when you get some bad news or something that really hurts you, it's better than not knowing. And so now you got to move forward and be done. Don't you agree, Andy? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But from what you told me in the email, it's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's done. And what you going to deal with that? We talked about this yesterday. I was asking her yesterday. This Andy, the woman from a couple of days ago. Exercise. You started laughing. Oh, I don't exercise. Start exercising. You're going to be stressed out. Start journaling. Start hanging out. I agree. I know I deserve better too. Good. Good answer. And if you deserve better, treat yourself better. Go exercise. Go do things for you. This is one of the biggest things I tell people. Start thinking about, like, how am I going to be better? When you break up with someone, you look at, like, I want my ex to be better. I want my ex to be better. It's time to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I got to be accountable. How can I be better? Not for them, just so I can get a better catch in the future. Walking your woman into a men-filled place is borderline cuck move. Okay. So this just came in. I didn't read it yet. It was a comment, but it looks like it's a story. So I'm gonna unpack it. I'm gonna even say the person's name because it was just sent in maybe 25 minutes ago. So I sent the person a message. I said, hey, look, I'll unpack this in the stream. I don't know how well the story's used, but it says Debbie Maldonado. Could be Philippines, actually, Andy, with that name. Me and my boyfriend have been dating for 3 years, going on 3 years of our problem is his exes. I know that that if he's got kids, he's going to come up with access. And you know, if you love somebody and you take all his baggage, but that doesn't mean you have to take his access. I said there's a way to handle his access. I told him he knew I didn't want him going back to over there, and he kept on going back, and I don't know what the reason was. And all of a sudden, I started feeling like I didn't matter. He disrespected me so many times and I just had ended up having enough after I caught him cheating in time. As a woman, he loved him. This is why you need to check your stories before you write them. And he said it was on the drunk that he told her that he messaged up, But then he moved and said I was not invited where he lived, an excuse nothing to do with us fighting or anything like that. Just something stupid about my smoking anyways. I came to the conclusion that this guy was just not meant for me, and I had to move on. I don't know. I did right. I do love him, but I love myself more. This is probably the most significant part of the story. And I came to, like I said, I realized this guy is just a womanizer, a narcissistic liar, and a cheater. What a thing to say about someone you love. And if I didn't even now go for this for the rest of my life because he didn't want to commit 100%. He told me it couldn't be there all the way, so now I know why. Because he had other women. So now that you know why, are you done? And I don't want to be in that piece of pie that he has in his life. More power to him. I just feel better and more powerful as a woman not to let a man do this to me, coach. Can you tell me right to the right thing to hope to hear from you or anybody which can talk about this? Thanks. I don't know if that was very easy to understand. Night Raven, am I able to ask a question here? Would I have to email you personally? Usually questions don't go very far, but go ahead and ask your question, Night Raven. Questions are allowed. It's just that if it's a broad question, you're best off sending in your story. But getting back to this point, so you go from I love him to he cheated on me, he's a drunk, to he's a narcissistic liar and a cheater and a womanizer. So is that someone you want a long-term relationship with if that's true? Right? That's what it comes down to. What the goal is in any breakup, and this is some significant, and Andy, you're on right now, you're on your third breakup here. No shame in that, hun, 23 years old. You get to a point where it might be, it was heartbreak, it was something you messed up on. I could have done this, I could have done that. You get to a point, maybe 6 months, a year down the road, and you go, it was a breakup. You know how different it is when you call it a breakup compared to, I've messed up, they did this, they're a narcissist, they took advantage of me. You want to get to a point where you just go, we broke up. I can say that about my breakups now. Like, we broke up. Like, yeah, I know it went wrong. I won't talk about it for an hour or 2 hours. No bitterness. Very level about it. Got some stories to tell that once hurt me, but now are funny. And you move forward. Marco, watch the stream. Yesterday's stream was good. Dave was a Showtime guy, man. Mm-hmm. That was fun. I'll have that. Aleph will have that edited probably in the next day, right?
Yeah. I mean,
not right away, but I think in the next day. Just Dave's part.
Dave part, maybe I gotta censor for some part, and it's gonna take time a lot.
Yeah, I might censor it. Yeah. Got to start with that attitude anyway. Hope all is well with you too. I watched it. It was a really good stream. Thanks, Marco. Yeah, I'm liking the call-ins. If we can do this often, like I said, it doesn't do the same justice as when we do a one-on-one. One-on-ones are a little bit more deeper because we get to talk on video and really dial in. I noticed that, I'm still watching the stream sometimes, but it's good for the audience and it's good for real-time unpacking. I'll have to go back and watch yesterday's. It was good. Coach, can you make a topic about rebound relationships too? I think I've talked about them before. But sure. Is there a specific question about rebound relationships that you're asking? From days texting on chat, I was like, damn, what's this guy all about? But on stream, it was really good. I would never say he is at 41 from Texas. You know what? Age is just a number. I'm 39 and I don't feel 39. I have to, someone will go, oh, how old are you? I'll be like 39. They'll be like, really?
Yeah.
Right? Would you think, if you met me, Aleph, no, Aleph has to be nice to me. Would you think I was 39?
I think you're 22, to be honest.
22?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's being too nice. What, you mean the way I talk?
I mean just the way you look.
22 or 32?
Sorry, 32.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a fucking stretch. Thanks, bro. When I was 22, I looked like I was 15, though. That's the funny part. I looked young when I was that age.
Like Danny.
Yeah.
Even 20,
Yeah, Danny
22,
looks young, too.
He
for
looked
20.
like 17.
Man, when I got in America, they don't really do this in here as much, but like you have to be 21 to buy liquor, right? So they card you, like they check your ID at the 7-Eleven or one of these places, everywhere. I got carded till I was like 31. And I remember when I visit back home recently, I'm like, wow, this is the first time I don't get carded. Like, I'm like, now I'm getting old, huh? But beyond, I've read stuff about this, about age. It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind. It's how you feel about yourself too. It's exercise, it's eating, but it's also feeling young and being around young people. I think that's a big thing. But like people that you meet, and they're like, oh, I'm getting old. You're going to make that true. And you're going to do old stuff and act old.
When you say age is just a number, I always think of a funny joke that I play around with my brohood. Like, oh, I like that girl. And he going to say, but she is younger than you about 3 years. Like that. I say age just a number.
Age is just well, you're 23. 20 years old is not a bad.
Yeah, and then he say, well, Joe is just a room too.
Oh.
Because then back to that time, I was 20.
Oh. Yeah, that's a slippery slope there, dude.
Yeah, but it's like
you're just joking. You're just joking around. I know. It's pretty close to the age. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Age is just a number, and Joe is just a room too.
Yeah. Well, there's some women out there, man. There's some women out there that look, they're 25 and they look like they're 17 or 18. There's a lot of people that look a lot younger than their age, and vice versa. Saeed's back on deck. Hi, thanks for all your videos. I have not heard from my ex since the end of May. Should I get the closure and think that she will never come back? Well, you'll never think that she'll never come back, because thinking means I don't know. It just means I think. Doesn't mean, you know what I mean? I think it might rain today. I think I think I might have steak for dinner tonight. Doesn't mean I will. You got to get to a point where you send in your story, or you got to get at peace with what happened, or you got to commit and go, instead of saying like, oh, you're waiting, wishing, and hoping, you got to be done. Like, I'm done. I'm done because I'm done, not because I want her back, not because of this. I'm done feeling this way. And a lot of my clients, they get to that point. However they get to that point, they go right when that happened. A lot of them will go, oh, that's when she contacted me. That's never happened to me. People always tell me that, like, oh, exes always come back right then. Not always. But it's almost like you're walking on a broken ankle, and you go, you know what? I better lay up on the ankle for a little bit and go to the doctors, get it wrapped up. I can't play basketball for about 3 weeks. I can't do, you know what I mean? You're going to have to hurt for a little while. You're going to have to hurt.
We have to accept that.
Yeah, it's going to hurt, though. That's the part. The idea that, like, the door is still open, you're not really entertaining that the breakup happened yet. That's the interesting part. You're still in this gray area where you're like, yeah, we could probably get back together. The real hurt comes when you're like, we're done. Only closure you need is to walk away and mean it when they dump you. And like I said, that kind of closure starts out, just because you're tough and you walked away doesn't mean, because I've talked to a lot of people, dude. I talked to ex-Marines. I talked to people that are tough dudes, man, and women. And they might walk away and they're talking to me and they're going through it, but they're dealing with it. They're like, no, I'm committed to it. But the idea that you're, I'm just going to leave the door open. I just don't really know if there's closure here yet. A lot of times, closure is just an interpretation. You can make things closure, or you can make them not closure. You're in charge of that. Mac, do you think your ex will ever get over the breakup? Do you think your ex will ever get over the breakup? Exes I've had in the past are already over them, I assume. I'm a big fan of Durzavini Posau. I'm not familiar with who that is. Marco says, you are a car. Is that what, when I was talking about? I actually did a piece on a video a while back that didn't get a lot of views, but it was about guys that date hot women, or they would, I'm dating someone hot, and I was saying, comparing it to different cars. That shows from Serbia. Okay, my philosophy is to reinvent yourself immediately after a breakup or after anything. That or one of the things that helps is changing environments, whether that's moving your place or where you hang out. That's just one of the biggest ones that's overlooked. I'll talk about that again and again. Someone might go, I can't leave my condo. Okay, you can. You don't want to. You got to do uncomfortable things. I'm really enjoying that You Can't Hurt Me with David Goggins. I haven't finished it yet, though. Nike one. Sorry for sleeping on that. You kind of told me about it, and I kind of assumed, like, oh, it's going to be this kind of a book I've read before. No way. No way. I mean, Mr. Goggins, he's not just this motivational, like, I'm tough, I'm a Navy SEAL. He went through some tough stuff in his life, man. Yugo is a car. Also, we say for people coming from ex-Yugoslavia, Yugos. Okay, kind of like the quote I posted the other day. No way, not at all. He's on a whole other level. He is, man. You want to hear something interesting about David Goggins? About that story. So, I mean, not everyone knows the story. We'd have to do a whole... I might do it one time, like a book review on it. But he grew up, he had an older brother. I don't know how much older his brother is. Nike one, maybe you know. And his father was abusive. His father was an asshole. They moved away from the father at 8 years. He was 8 years old. And somehow I believe the older brother moved back in with the dad. So the brothers were split. He doesn't talk about his brother a whole lot in the book. But me being curious, I wanted to look up who his dad was, because his dad was supposedly kind of a famous guy. And I think I saw one picture on Wikipedia or something when his dad was older. You didn't really get an idea of it. But there was a picture of his brother, Trunis Jr., and his brother looks you could tell they're brothers, but you can just see the difference in lifestyle. Because the brother's like heavier, kind of overweight a little bit, and talking about like some weird things on a YouTube video. And it's just amazing that, because David Goggins is in like outstanding, crazy shape at like 43 years old. He's all cut up and stuff. It's just lifestyle, right? Like someone's like, oh, of course he's a Navy SEAL. But yeah, he works out. He valued some things. But these two brothers that went different paths, they look so different, man. They look so different. And they were raised by the same family for a little while. It's interesting. His story resonated with me on so many. He was drawn into me like a moth to a flame. It's compelling. I think it's a compelling story because some of it's so hard. I mean, I believe him. It's not BS, but the things the roadblocks he faced. But one of the things he says is, "No one helped me." That's the best thing that ever happened. That's interesting. That's interesting. No, it's Nike one. I can't believe it hasn't been a movie yet. He's got to be negotiating that. Because I'm listening to it on the audiobook and I'm like, this is a movie. This is a movie to be made. There's stories out there that don't add up to this. All right, we got 14 on deck, 6 likes. Thank you kindly, folks. When you're done with that book, read Living with a SEAL by Jesse Itzler. That's the first book about David Goggins. I've seen that guy Jesse Itzler on Joe Rogan talk about his time with Mr. Goggins, which was interesting, I guess. And Rob came on late, dude. 54 minutes in. It's pretty early where you're at, and you're a night owl, so I'm sure you have other things to do. Andy, if you're still on, what was your topic or question you wanted to ask about Rebounds, if I may ask. It was a good read. It sounded kind of cheesy to me, to be quite honest, like Living with a Seal. But I'll take your word for it. Wow, that's dedication, Rob. I appreciate it. He said he got a notification, so he got up at 5 a.m. What do you think the next topic should be, Aleph, for tomorrow?
I think rebounding is so interesting.
I don't know if rebounds is something. I just know in my own life that I've never been someone to go, "What's up, Luna Martinez?" Yeah, you're a little bit late, but it's okay. Rebounds to me though have been, when someone says that, it feels bitter. Like that, like once you're broken up, if someone ends up with someone new, instead of saying, "Oh, they're in a rebound," I would say, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know about that. If they're hooking up with someone else, I want to move on. I don't want to know about that. I don't want to judge that. If you yourself, time to hit the gym, right on it, Sam. Go for it, bud. If you yourself are in a relationship, sometimes people go, "You think I'm just in a rebound right now?" I'm always like, if you meet someone, you like them, you have a good time, you're at a good place in your life, it's a discovery mission. Go out and have fun and see what happens. Why put a label on, "Oh, it's just a rebound for me"? It could be. I mean, what is it like to you? I guess a rebound's the type of thing where someone just gets in a relationship to fill a void because they're lonely.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Like you broke up and they're just lonely, so they just pick the first person that gives them attention and love, and that would be what a rebound is. That being said, you know, if someone does that, good for you. Can you retouch on self-improvement? Specifically what, Luna? Overall, or? I think the next title should be about values. Social interactions and dating is value.
What about self-esteem?
What about self-esteem?
Mm-hmm.
Do you got it?
I mean, the topic.
Do you got it, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question, Luna. I can touch on it because I've read a lot of self-improvement books, and recently they just got old to me because they're very repetitive. But you want to know the number one thing to me? Because it's funny you say that, because I'm on Instagram now. I go through it here and there like once or twice a day. I don't really comb it too much. But they have all these self-improvement quotes, right, Danny? Like a lot of them are similar.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's like the same quote over and over again. And I put up quotes too. I don't think my quotes are as cheesy as some of these, because what I did is pick psychologists and stuff, so I hope they're a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But some of them are just so obvious. Like find your purpose. That's so. It's like eat food or die. Mm-hmm. But like, what is your purpose? Can mean so many things, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the self-improvement thing, if I could tell people the one thing that's at the core, the heartbeat of self-improvement, before I say this, what do you think it is, Danny? If we could just base it on 3 or 4 words, what would be the most important thing about self-improvement?
I don't know. I've always been like straight to the point, so I guess to improve yourself.
Okay. To improve yourself, but I'm saying, like, how do you do that? So like, what would be the things that you would do? Like, let's just say I give you 5 words to tell me, so we're not like philosophical, like, you know, self-improvement and get into stories. What do you think it would be?
That's pretty hard. I don't know. Sorry.
All right, that's okay. I don't know is an answer. Mm-hmm. It's better than saying nothing, because that's annoying, right? When someone's like, I don't want to talk. I don't know is an answer. What do you think? Self-improvement. If you just had to like, we don't need a big answer. You're like the heartbeat of self-improvement. There's three things I'm thinking of. Three.
To be like happy with yourself, or like.
A lot of people say happiness,
Yeah.
but happiness is fleeting. Fleeting means that you can't just take happiness and have it all the time.
Yeah.
And Danny, if you're around people that are happy all the time, they're annoying, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's
You're like, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
that's-
too much. But like real happiness comes and goes.
You
It's
would
like-
think it's weird to be like happy all the time.
It's like, how would you know what salty food is without sugary food? How would you know what hot is without cold? That's what happiness is without sadness. So you kind of need some sad moments or some bad days to
Like
know good
balance.
days. It's polarization. It's just life, hot and cold. So when people go, oh, I just want to be happy. You're never going to be fucking 100% happy. Kind of makes me cringe. Can you be happier? Yeah. Yeah. Or you can be more content. Like you're okay with things. Because there's going to be times when you're just like, when I'm really at my best, I'm more content. I'm happier, but like I'm more like, oh, I could, like today, the live stream, 3 fucking times it took to get the live stream on today. There's times where I'll be like, fuck this after one. Like, and I'll lose my patience or I'll get upset or I'll blame something. I'm like, I'm having a good day today because I'm okay. I'm going to try it a third time. Like, I'm content. I'm okay. Was I happy when that happened? Like, oh, yeah. You know what? Let me just prove to myself how much I'm self-improved. No. It was like, I did some yoga today. I've been exercising a lot recently, and I feel more calm, right? So what do you think some of the things are for, like, if it's just 3 things that would be at the heart of self-improvement?
I have no idea.
Says the man that's never happy. You guys got to see Alep's face when I said that. I'm joking. Actually, I'd say, Aleph, you're very content. You're very level. So let's just look at what some people said. I'm just interested. Because, by the way, folks, this is an opinion. So when Danny says, like, to be happier, okay, someone will go, yeah, that's it. Someone, and...
Yeah, when you're asking that, yeah.
Because self-improvement's a big thing. Like, I want to improve myself. At the heart of it, I'm going to divulge what I think in a minute, but I'll read... Because now when I read stuff about it that are quotes and stuff, I'm like, this is what it is. Coach, I would not say that topic would be rebound. Maybe how to cope with ex moving on fast. Rebounds are just relationship like any other. Well, that's your interpretation. Overall, it's number 1 on here. Slept like a baby since I am on vacation. Well, it's time for me to go and chat with my soon-to-be girlfriend. I have a feeling we might be together soon. Till next time, Mac, you're awesome. I'm out, everyone. Right on, Dylan. Next topic, maybe the things to do after a breakup and what's needed to reinvent yourself. I would love to say stay and listen up, but it's 4 a.m. here in Texas. Take care, Chris. No worries, buddy. Openness and change. Openness to change the patterns. Good one, Rob. Openness to change the patterns. You're running a program, some people say, a patterns, I call it playbooks, all the same thing. Understanding where your mistakes were, sure. Major action is a step to self-improvement, sure. Don't indulge in rights or impulsive pleasures, they're temporary happiness. Those would be like drugs, right? Alcohol is what I think, things like that. Okay, so mine would be ready, exercise, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, I knew that one already. Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's the core. Responsibility for everything you do and you're a part of, and accountability. Those are big. That's like, to me, that's one of those ones I didn't realize I wasn't doing it for years of my life. Like, you constantly blame other people or you make excuses. If you take responsibility for everything you do, even shit that doesn't turn out right and wasn't your fault, then you can, that's the golden road to self-improvement. Yeah, I agree with the other things that were said, like openness to changing patterns, I mean, I went down the self-improvement thing for 2 years, listened and read a lot of books now. But I would say that's the heartbeat. And a lot of people you meet that are unhappy, they do this. Oh, this person did this to me. I don't like my teacher. I don't like this person. They don't ever go, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe I made some choice. Like you don't see anywhere in your life where you have power. Everything's being done to you. Everything happened to you. Like someone in the sky is just throwing things at you. When in reality, you're creating your reality. And so when you start to go, wait a minute, man, like I remember back when I wanted to be a teacher or something like that, it's like I kept creating like, oh, well, I don't want to go back to school. Well, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. I was just making excuses because I didn't want to deal with taking tests that I had to take to become a teacher. I was a little nervous about some of these. The school, I had all these excuses. The reality is I didn't want to go through the hard part. I just wanted the job. I didn't want to do any, like you got to do things before you know what I mean? Like before you get like a career job, someone will be like, oh yeah, you got to, it's like you got to jump through some hoops. You got to like, okay, you got to get this bachelor's degree. Okay. Oh, I don't like, a friend of mine quit university. He was like in his third year and he was like a computer science major. He had a fucking scholarship to a very nice private school, like a really nice University of San Francisco, which is like beautiful school. And he had a scholarship, full ride, and he quit. And I thought he quit because he kind of missed his girlfriend, but his excuse was, I don't like taking English and history classes. I just want to take computer classes. But you know what? I give him credit because to me, going to USF was impressive. I was like, that's a beautiful school, man. This is like a top private school. But you know what? He went to a, like, you know, you can go to a trade school for computer learning, like programming, and he did it. Like he did go and get a specialized degree from a different school. So he did take responsibility for his complaining. At the time, I was like, wow, that's really weak. That's part of college. But he ended up doing it. But that's at your core. If you want to start with self-improvement, I agree with what Rob said, openness to change, check your bad habits, be honest with yourself. But that would be like right at the heart. Look at everything that goes wrong, especially when you're an adult. I'm talking about when you're 18 to 20 years old. That's when you start to have to go. I know a lot. Like when you live at home with your parents, sometimes you don't have a choice because they give you food, they give you clothes. You got to do what they say. Mm-hmm. You got to follow them. When you get to a certain age, now things have changed because certain things are really expensive in the world, so you got to stay at your parents' house longer. I get that, but you still need to take more responsibility as you get older. Because you know right from wrong. And what people do that blame and complain, and I'll tell you what, in my 20s, I was one of them. I still am sometimes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, I never complain. I never blame anyone. That's bullshit. I just catch myself, and I reflect on it. I'm like, I got to stop doing this shit. I'll fall back into that. I'll fall back into it because something happened, something upset me, I had a bad couple days. I'll fall into it and then I'll stop and I'll go, stop being this way. Because accountability and responsibility, that's when you become a real adult. And that's the heart of self-improvement. And you start going like, I got this problem right now. It doesn't matter how it came about. I got to take responsibility and try to get through it. That's where it's at, Luna. So one day I'll talk about self-improvement maybe more, but that's one of your really big ones that you can come back to again and again. Am I taking responsibility for this situation? Am I accountable for it? You always can be. Accountability in people for their actions seems to be a dying breed. You know what I've noticed though, Nike One? Being that doing coaching now and listening to people on a deeper level, people that I've noticed that are successful, and when I say successful, they maybe have some good kids, and obviously financially successful. That's how we measure a lot of things right now, because that's how you're able to take care of more things, right? You're able to have more power. I always thought that a lot of rich people were bad. They're not all bad. But the ones that are like, they made it or they're self-made, a lot of them I've noticed are responsible, accountable, and I'd add one more thing, they're disciplined. Like, there's a friend of mine that he's pretty well off, and it's like he'll have 5 beers and 2 soda waters, and he'll be like done. And he goes to bed at a certain time, and he exercises 6 days a week. He has discipline, and you're like, it's not by accident that he made a lot of money, because he's got rules that he follows that are good rules. They're not just habits. So I would add discipline to that, as far as that goes. All right, folks, this has been good. Discipline equals freedom, coach. It does, and I'll be honest. I mean, I haven't always had it. It takes like, that's why I think people do well that have been in the military before, because that's what the military does for you. But unfortunately, it can mess you up too if you have to go to war and you had a traumatic experience. So it's not always great, but it definitely has that. Ten on deck, 9 likes. Lost some people there. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. It's been outstanding. We did an hour and 11 minutes. That might be good luck to do 1 1 1 1 1. I'll be back on deck tomorrow. I appreciate everyone. Please be accountable for your actions and be responsible for your life. It's curtains.